Yeah.
Okay, I'm recording. If you could step a little closer.
I can step a little bit closer. You don't mind me being in your bubble,
ahead.
right?
Go ahead.
Okay, cool. As long as I have your consent, we're cool. So I was coming over to ask you why you seem to be not with everybody else. What makes you think that this protest doesn't make sense? Like, why? If you have any, what am I trying to say without being leading? Why do you think we should just let ICE build here? Or is that what you think?
I think I should have access to the resources they need. I
Okay.
think if they find it necessary here, I'm not a law enforcement officer. I don't work with ICE. I'm not affiliated with them. I support law enforcement. I think if they find it necessary here, they probably have a reason for it. I don't think, like they say, I don't think they're Gestapo that's just trying to go in and ruin people's lives. I think we've had real problems. For example, Laken Riley, who was murdered by an illegal immigrant that was let in by the Biden administration. He wasn't vetted. And another thing, we are not anti-immigration.
Okay.
We're for legal immigration. It's a
Okay.
very big difference.
Agreed.
But
Absolutely.
to your question, why do we need one here? I don't know the reasons they need one here. They need resources. I think we should give them every resource they need. I think every law enforcement agent and agency should have the resources needed to enforce the law.
Okay, that seems legit. That being said, like, for me, I am a big supporter, especially of our local and state police.
Mm-hmm.
They do incredibly hard jobs.
I agree.
Makes them super messed up people because of the stuff they have to deal with.
I agree.
And I would love to see other resources for them. But they carry badges.
Sure.
They don't walk around with masks on their faces. They interact with the humans.
Yes.
I feel like saying that an entity that doesn't necessarily produce ID, that can't show its credentials the way the police forces can, I'm not sure I want to spend money giving them resources.
Right. Well, I mean, that is a federal organization. ICE is Immigration and Customs Enforcement. That is a department. That is a part of Homeland Security. So that is a government entity.
Okay.
I assume you're talking about the masked agents and such?
I'm talking about, the places where they've been, where they haven't been able to show ID, they've kept their faces covered, they haven't presented themselves as necessarily
those requirements, I believe, are different for federal agents. Yeah,
yes.
I'd have to look at the exact wording of the law. If you have it on you, I'd love to look at it. But the little research I did a while ago,
okay,
it showed they don't need they don't have the same requirement. For example, Miranda rights are not something that they have to read or tell people before they do an arrest.
Okay.
It's a federal agency. It's a federal agent. It's a federal arrest. It's a very different rules apply, and that's in the laws.
Fair. So here's where I struggle. Okay, I don't like throwing my money. Again, I said I'm a social liberal. I am a fiscal conservative, and I have a problem with we just need to build warehouses for immigrants without more information about why do immigrants need to be stored in Merrimack, why in New Hampshire, where are we thinking we have these immigrants? I don't like writing blank checks.
Sure.
I mostly showed up at this protest because what it sounded like, and I wanted to find out information, is like, I don't want to just write them a blank check for, you can store people here. I don't think that doesn't mean we don't necessarily support federal government entities or anything like that. Just, I don't want to write you a blank check.
I hear what you're saying, but if you look over there, you have signs that call ICE Gestapo, call our side, Trump side, Nazis. I mean, how are we Nazis? Nobody has proven this point. So asking questions is totally fair. You go inside, you go into the town hall, you go into the meeting, you ask the questions. That's totally fine. You can ask all the questions you want. This is something else. They want to abolish ICE. I saw a sign. There's signs that say ICE equals Gestapo. There's a sign calling us Nazis. There's anti-swastika signs. I don't know where they're coming off on that. I don't know where they're getting this from. And I don't know what that has to do with asking questions of what's going on, what's the detention center for. That's not that question. And
okay.
I'm sure, and I think that's a very valid question. I think it's a good question. I'm glad you're asking it. But that's not what's going on here. What's going on here is just hate.
Sometimes, some of it is. Part of the reason I walked over is because I heard a lot of hate going back and forth. And I don't understand why we're
coming from their side. I mean, I'm just saying Donald Trump won. The American people gave him a mandate. That's all I'm trying to say. They're talking about democracy. Democracy spoke on November 5th and gave President Donald Trump a mandate.
Which, that that wasn't what I was hearing. What I was hearing was the back and forth, and where we got down to genitalia comments. And honestly, nobody's genitalia matters in this. But
That side.
but see, that's the problem, right? When we talk about that side and this side, or this side and this side, I'm a U.S. citizen. You're a U.S. citizen, right? And also, I just don't engage in hate speech. So I would love to see more people coming out and saying, "Hey, I support ICE if that's what you support. I support this administration." When I feel like when we engage in the back and forth like those comments, like they don't even know where I stand. They just see me talking to you, and they're thinking like, I
That's
don't
going to
know.
be a problem for you.
Yeah, I'm over it. Actually, they're not a problem for
On
me.
November 5th, when I went to vote, I'll tell you a story. On November 5th, when I went to vote, there were some people holding Kamala signs.
Yep.
I went up to them wearing this same hat. I
Okay.
went up to them and I asked them, "Why Kamala?" Simple
Yep.
question, why Kamala? And I was holding a Trump sign.
Okay.
Somebody came running and told the other person to stop speaking to me and that I had to go because I was making them look bad.
Interesting. All right. So can I tell you what I would love to see from you guys?
Please.
I heard you say some really great things. Get out and vote. I would love it if you weren't pushing for the presidential vote, because we need to vote for municipal things. That's where no one actually cares to a large extent. We've got the whole electoral college thing. Your individual vote for president means very, very, very little. Your individual vote at town meeting for council boards for whatever.
I do disagree with that
lot.
comment. I do disagree with that your vote does not matter in the electoral or in the federal election, presidential election.
Matters less because of numbers.
Sure.
And I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm not saying don't vote. I'm saying what I love is you saying vote.
Right.
And also vote state level. And because as someone who works in the polls, okay, I don't actually live here. I live in a small town about an hour away. We have 2,000 people. And the only time you see those 2,000 people come out and vote is for the presidential election. And the rest of the time, there's like 150 of us making all the decisions for the town. I love that message. I agree with you. Get out and vote. Vote for president. Vote for Congress. Vote for your state reps and your state senate and all those things. That's a great message.
I agree.
Support the entities. Once you've voted, support the entities. I'm here for that too. I'm, again, not here for blank checks. But I think you guys have good things to say. It feels like you came with a megaphone and not a statement to make that I want to see your sign. I want to see what your sign says, because I don't actually think that you're a terrible human being or a Nazi or any of the rest of the things. I think you have a different opinion than other people here, and that is what makes America great.
I agree. And to your point, I mean, getting out to vote was a major part of our campaign, of the Trump campaign.
Love it.
That was Elon Musk's message: get out and vote. That's why he spent all the money he did, and he's planning to do it again for the midterms. That was the message. Because our problem on our side is that we don't get out and vote.
Okay.
So that is what we are trying to do. That's why we had all these vote early, vote however you need to vote, get out and vote. That was our message. That was the point.
And that should be the message from everyone. Get out and vote. That's how you make change. And then during the rest of the year, I don't know, vote with your wallets, vote with your signs, vote with your whatever. I don't like the back and forth. I don't like the making assumptions about who you are based on what hat you're wearing or what message you're sending. I feel like you don't get a chance to be heard, though, in a situation like this.
That's true. I mean, like I said, I came over here. I don't have a sign, but I have a megaphone. And my point with the megaphone was to say President Trump won with a mandate, and that's what he's doing. He is doing what we elected him to do. This is my first time voting in a presidential election. My first vote went proudly to President Trump. That's what I voted for him to do. That's what many other people did. That's what the majority voted for him to do. That was a major part of his campaign, along with many other issues, but this was one of the major ones. So I'm just here supporting what was already voted for.
Do you think that once we have people in office, and this is a legit question, okay? Once we have people in office and they've been voted in, are we then, as citizens, on all the levels of government, obligated to support them in everything they do?
No.
Okay. So why do we need to support? Because I don't think everyone who voted for Trump was voting on immigration. I think a lot of people were voting on, oh my God, I am scared of the prices. I'm scared of the cost of living.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they were voting on immigration, especially not in New Hampshire, where, I mean, my sister was the only African person in our high school, and for miles. We are mostly white, very white.
Do you think that's a problem?
A little bit, because I think it makes us not as aware of what goes on in the rest of the country.
Why is that a problem?
Because I feel like we are isolated. The culture in New England in general, right? Our culture is very different from what people live down south, in the Midwest, out west. We have our own very unique culture here. And it's why I chose to raise my kids here. They are fantastic. The sense of community, the sense of togetherness, all of that, I think is really important. But I think it also means we don't understand the other problems. We don't understand what other parts of the country go through.
Sure. I mean, that's what happens. One, that's what happens when you have a big country.
Sure.
It's not, things tend to just have regions in a sense. Secondly, why do we need to look at race? Why does race need to be a thing? Why do we need to bring up whether there's an African or not? Why is this a thing? Why is this important? Now, I'm not saying that other minorities or any. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, why is the race question such a big part of the leftist identity in today's day?
I feel like because we haven't talked about it enough.
But what is there to talk about?
There are a lot of things to talk about.
Hold on one second, I'm recording.
Using your right to actually speak up. So I'm really excited that you guys are.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was a lot of what I wanted to say to you. We might not agree. We're not going to agree on everything. I have a lot of opinions that are very unpopular. Look,
Don't we all?
All stuffed animals should be given to dogs to shred. I hate them. You know, everybody's got unpopular opinions.
That's true.
But I think the reason that race is important is because the color of your skin does affect how we look at people. It is a part of who you are. Like if you're in a wheelchair, ignoring the wheelchair doesn't ignore the fact that that's what people see. Like, that doesn't change that. And I do think I've watched, like, my nephew get pulled over far more times than my son. And they're both about the same driver. In fact, honestly, my son ought to be pulled over more. He's terrible. I don't know who taught him. But I watch my nephew live every day and my sister live every day, that their skin color does make them stand out and does get them a different kind of attention. I think that needs to be talked about, because that's the only way it stops, is if we don't pretend it's not happening. And it's hard when we have so few minority groups here to have that conversation, because I think in New Hampshire, we don't exactly understand how that happens. I think it's important to talk about the things that no one wants to talk about, because otherwise they just they devolve into the kind of conversation where you're not talking to that side of the road or the other, and they're not talking to you like a person, they're talking to you like an enemy, and that's gross. But we're not enemies.
In a sense, it was that side that killed Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was out to speak. Charlie Kirk was out to have conversations with people, give his side of the story. What we're doing now, and they put a bullet in his neck for it.
You say they. It was a person. It was a person.
It was a person that pulled the trigger. It was a side. It was the left, the American left, that called us Nazis, that called police Gestapo, that demonized us so much, that dehumanized us, frankly, that it's okay to shoot us. It was your side, not yours. It was that side that said that words are violence, and it's okay. How do you respond to violence? Some people will say with more violence. If words are violence, putting a bullet in Charlie Kirk's neck is right up that alley. So
I feel like anytime someone pulls a trigger and chooses to end out life, regardless of side, regardless of rhetoric going on, when you choose to pull a trigger and take a life, that is a person choosing it. You have the option every day not to take somebody else's life. And when we bring it back to the left or the right or the MAGAs or the snowflakes or whatever you want to call them, when we bring it back to like, well, it's your side's fault or your side's fault, we're missing the point. First of all, honestly, corporations are the only ones that are benefiting right now. If you look at like numbers in politics, in national politics, individuals aren't the ones with the pull. It's the corporations with the PACs and the money and all of that.
True.
Which is why I say our vote does not matter as much, because I don't have the money to influence what goes on the national level. But I also really hate the conversations of like them against us, because we're all together. And most
Are
of
we
us,
though?
yes, when we
Maybe
have
you and I were having this conversation. Yes, I think we can agree on many points.
right.
But then when the other side, when the left wants to put women in men's bathrooms, when they want to push this trans agenda, when they want to push all these things, I'm sorry, that's just not something I want to see in my country. And that's not something many people want to see in their country.
But I bet you if we sat down, okay, I have a different opinion about bathrooms. And also, I think if we sat down, we could actually find that we agree on a lot of things. And that part of this is not talking about the us versus them rhetoric, but saying, all right, where do we align? I don't want people to be unsafe in bathrooms. And also, the women's bathroom is the safest place on the planet, especially at clubs. I don't care who you are, if you walk into the women's bathroom and you need help, you're going to find it. And usually a bunch of women who are going to like take care of you. I don't want the law in the bathrooms at all. I definitely don't want genitalia checks when I go to pee, because I got to pee fast. I am almost 50. I have no time. But I bet we can agree on a lot of things without the whole you versus me. Because it's not you versus me. It's not us versus them.
We can talk about things, but when the left wants to deny an objective fact that men born as men with male parts are men, and you can't change that, if we can't agree on that, I'm not saying you and I maybe don't agree with that. I don't know what you think, but I'm saying when the left in general, they can't look at an objective statement and take that as truth. I'm sorry, I don't think we can really get too far in a conversation if we can't use objective facts, if we can't say men are men.
So here's the problem with facts, though, right? So I can show you people born with male genitalia that are genetically women. Like, we could have a whole discussion, and it's not about whether that's right or wrong. It's, you can present facts, I can present facts, and at the end of the day, what we need to figure out is, where do we align? Where are we on the same page, and how can we get more on the same page together? When it's us versus them, it's trans in the bathroom or not trans in the bathroom, right? Those are the two options. Actually, maybe that's not the idea at all. Maybe we're missing, by having those yes and no conversations, we're missing the in between. Maybe nobody should have to pee in open air next to anybody else, right? Maybe we should look at the way we design bathrooms. Maybe we should look at the amount of time we're spending worrying about who's going in and not who's being trafficked while they're in there.
I agree with the trafficking, but I think in a sense you're hyperfixating on the bathroom issue, whereas I'm looking at the more broader question, or broader statement, which is men who are born men are men till they die. And bathroom, no bathroom, I mean, follow the logic, I suppose, but I guess one of the examples I'm trying to give, where we do have, frankly, not you and I, but the left and the right have diametrically opposed worldviews, basically, is, I mean, men are men and women are women.
Okay.
That's
Here's the
just
thing.
one example.
You can totally, that is a fine opinion to have. I don't happen to agree, but also I try and stay out of other people's gender, because I actually don't care, unless I'm going to sleep with them, and even then I actually don't care. But like, other than that, it's not relevant. It's not relevant to me. And so where sometimes it's not about fixating on the bathroom, it's about saying it doesn't have to be that easy or that black and white. It can be more complex, and be like, okay, so where does this affect you? Where does this affect me? Where are those places where we're intruding on each other's rights? Because actually, it's perfectly fine for you to not want to deal with anybody else's gender questions. Then I guess maybe the question is, how do we keep gender out of everybody's issues, right? Like, how do I make it so because I would like to be part of the I don't care club. I don't care. If you would like to call yourself a man, I do not care whether or not you are genetically a man.
But the thing is, this was not an issue until the left made it. Until the left started pushing the trans issue. Until the left started pushing the LGBTQ issue. I mean, society just went on until this started to be a thing we had to accept or be ostracized from society if you don't go along with the LGBTQ agenda, if you don't go along with the trans agenda. This was the left.
What do you
The
think
left.
the agenda is?
You have to accept it, otherwise you're just this evil person. You have to, if a man says he's a woman, you have to call him a woman, otherwise it's a microaggression. I mean, what world are we living in?
So I think on both sides we always have extremists, and also one of my kids is non-binary, one of my kids is trans, and what my kid would like to do is be left alone. He, in general, I think there are big societal sides, and we get caught up in that. And like, actually, we need to talk more on a human level, because this is what I go back to. I don't need you to call my son a man. You can say he's still a girl, and that's fine because he doesn't know you, and you guys don't hang out, and you probably aren't going to get along. Why does that have to affect anyone? Why does that have to affect you? Why does that have to affect us? Why can't we just say, all right, if you are the kind of person who doesn't want to be accepted unless someone will use the gender that does not match your presentation, then we won't hang out. And if you do want to be the kind of person who only identifies with what you're presenting for gender, why can't we just not hang out? We can not barbecue together, but we can like still go shopping, or not together, but we can like still be in the same stores, the same space, the same town hall, all of those things, and just not ask about each other's gender.
Sure.
Those are the conversations I feel like are more productive. How do we go about doing that? Making everybody feel safe. The people who don't feel like trans, or don't feel like gay, or don't feel like immigrants, or whatever the issue is. How do we go about having those one-on-one conversations so that we don't have these situations? Because this is dreadful. Not the protests, but the back and forth is dreadful. That kind of hate is really awful. So how do we go about having those smaller conversations? Like, do you have suggestions for having other conversations?
Don't kill Charlie Kirk. That's the thing. I mean, we were having conversations. Our side was having conversations, going out to college campuses, talking to people. Charlie Kirk was doing that. Other people that went up with him were doing that, and they're going to continue. That's not going to stop. But those conversations were being had. Our side, Turning Point USA, was providing a platform for people, for anybody who wanted to come up, grab the mic, and have a conversation, say what they needed to say, and discuss it.
Okay.
That was there. That happened. The left put a bullet in his neck. The one guy pulled the trigger, but it was the ideology behind him. It was the left that also celebrated when Charlie Kirk was killed. They celebrated and they said, good, rest in peace. The Nazi is dead. They celebrated.
Sure.
So you want to have
But
conversations. We tried to have conversations. The left put a bullet in his neck.
But not the left didn't celebrate. Some people who are not necessarily good people celebrated, just like some people who hold more conservative right-wing views celebrate when people they think are the political enemy have been killed. Like, sometimes we're not nice as a race. We're bad people. And we celebrate the wrong things. We don't think about what the actual consequences are. We don't think about the humanity. But I don't think it's fair to break it down into the left or the right did a thing. We're looking at the worst of what people are doing and saying that represents an entire section of people. No, it doesn't.
There was even Democrat Congress members. For example, Maxine Waters is one who said in a public statement, if you see somebody from his cabinet, if you see somebody from the administration, go to them and tell them they're not welcome. That's what she said. She said she was inciting people to harass anybody from the Trump administration.
Do you think our Congress people are good people? I think most of them are not.
Good.
I think most of them are corrupt.
But this is Democratic leadership.
That doesn't make Democrat or Republican doesn't make you good or bad, just like left or right doesn't make you good or bad. And being elected to Congress is often not a good sign. It's look,
no, I agree.
I'm not trying to be a bitch about it, but generally speaking, if you're a career politician, you're probably not a great human being, especially if you've made it up far enough that you are making obscene amounts of money.
I agree.
I feel like, so I don't want to base my opinions on a group of people, on especially not people who had a lot of money to get where they are, and I don't want to see the conversations about the left did this or the right did that. No, people are doing this, and the more we talk about the left and the right, the more dehumanized. You were using that word earlier, and that's one of the things that I hate. Right? When we soften and baby up our language, and when we don't say the things that are going on, and when we talk about these great swaths like they're not made up of people, they're just sides, we're dehumanizing all of this stuff.
I agree, but what I'm trying to point out is that the left has a violent tendency. I'm sorry, but that's just true. I mean, who has the right killed? Who has the right gone out and just shot for having a conversation?
I don't think the right has shot any more people than the left. I think people with ideologies have gone out and killed people or not killed people. They've made choices. We could sit down and figure, and do the research and figure out whether conservatives or liberals or whatever you want to call them have done more. But I don't think that's productive, because I'll tell you what, I qualify as the left, and I did not encourage anyone to kill anyone.
So do you condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I don't know.
Why not?
Because it is not my place or anyone else's place to decide that they are God or a God and take someone else's life. I don't agree with the death penalty.
So why can't you why can't you condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk?
Because it's not my place to condemn or applaud it. It's not.
So why are you here? Why are you here condemning? I mean, this protest is condemning ICE. Tell ICE get lost.
Nope. Just because there are people who have opinions that are not the same as mine doesn't mean that I absolutely agree. Because, like I said earlier, I don't want to, no, I hear you. I don't want to write a blank check for ICE. And I don't think this is a good place for something like 80,000 people. And mostly, I'm here because I was curious. Right. And I wanted to know what was going on. Because honestly, I can't find any facts about it anywhere. So I wanted to see what people were saying and see what was going on.
Sure.
I'm nosy.
Right.
Straight up, right? Like, but I'm not.
So would you say the same about, say, Adolf Hitler? Would you say you can't condemn Nazi ideology? You can't condemn the murder or the genocide of the Jews?
It is not my place to decide who lives or dies. And I was not alive in the 1940s. Doesn't mean I don't think it's a bad thing, or I suppose hypothetically I could think it was a good thing. I mean that condemning is different from having an opinion. I may have an opinion, but it's not my job to decide who lives or dies or whether or not it was right.
So does that allow any room for it to be correct, for it to be a good thing, for him to have been right?
Sure.
So you're saying, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
Nope.
What I'm understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying there is place for what happened, which was political violence.
I'm saying every human has the right to look at a situation and make their own moral call. That is not the same as spreading it to other people, okay? I don't happen to agree with killing Charlie Kirk, not because of what he represented, because of what he was doing or anything else. I don't agree with taking other people's lives. I understand it happens accidentally. I understand sometimes people think they have a real good reason for doing it. And also, I choose not to be in a field where I'm put in that position, where I have to decide if people live or die. But there is a difference between me having an opinion, or you having an opinion, and me having any sort of ability to condemn or condone something that's happened. Those are two different things. My opinion doesn't really affect much other than what I do. And what I think happened with all the things that went down in Germany, I think that a lot of people listened to somebody who maybe didn't have great ethics. That's what I think. And also, I wasn't there. I wasn't born. My mother wasn't even born yet. There's nothing I can do to change it.
I agree, but I think we can still look at things, at situations, at things, however you want to call it, objectively, and say, sure. For example, political violence is wrong. Killing Charlie Kirk for having a different opinion, for going out and calling college campuses and speaking, is wrong. I think we can easily say that.
Sure.
I think if someone has a problem condemning said political violence and said assassination, I mean, this was sure, he was a political figure. He was just a political commentator that went out to talk to people. He had a wife. He had kids. He had, I think, 2 kids. This is a father who was killed. This is a husband who was killed. And if we can't condemn that, if we can't say this is wrong,
How about the person that was just shot by ICE?
who was attacking a law enforcement officer?
However you want to interpret it. I wasn't there. Again, this is why.
I don't think they should go around just shooting random people, which they haven't. But if an ICE agent is standing there trying to arrest this person for intervening with a law enforcement operation, and she rams her car or starts driving her car into an ICE agent, obviously this is going to go to court, and there's going to be a sentence given. But if I just charge an officer, I'm going to get shot.
Okay.
If she charged an officer or an agent, she got shot. I mean,
But here's the thing. You weren't there, right?
no.
I wasn't there. I don't know what went down. This is where I say there's a difference between having an opinion and condemning or condoning something. I wasn't there when Charlie Kirk was killed. I don't know why the guy pulled the trigger. I don't know what was happening. I didn't even know who Charlie Kirk was. Who am I to condemn or condone somebody taking someone else's life? That should just be a baseline no. You shouldn't be taking other people's lives.
I mean, you can have that opinion, but I take myself as someone with 2 eyes and an intelligence, and that I can look at a situation and say, in a more complicated situation, self-defense, obviously you look at facts, you take to court, and whoever is right, and you hope justice will prevail, you get a sentence, you get whatever you need to get from the court. But in a case where, for example, Charlie Kirk, he was not hurting anyone. He was sitting there having a conversation. I don't think you can condemn someone trying to run their car into an ICE agent to a man who's sitting there having a conversation with the other side.
But that's not necessary. So there are a lot of different stories about how that ICE shooting went down.
I mean, there is video.
Yeah, I can make things happen with video. This is part of my problem, part of my struggle, is I can make video look like a lot of things. The videos that are being taken right now can make us look like we're having an entirely different conversation very easily.
Very true.
You know, and you can make people say whatever you want. So one of the things I struggle with when people ask me about condemning and condoning, which is for me a very specific thing, I might have a little bit of a word issue. When you ask me if I condemn something, I don't think my opinion matters that much. I think we need to have a conversation about why did somebody have a gun and why were they able to get close enough and why was that, like, we need to be having a whole different conversation, not whether or not we should or shouldn't have killed someone. That's a dumb conversation to have. But how did this happen and how can we make sure it doesn't happen again? That we don't have to be killing people to try and make a point.
I mean, I agree we should not be killing people, but again, it's the left who pulled, or it's a person who held leftist ideologies who pulled the trigger on Charlie Kirk. It's a person who held leftist ideology who pulled the trigger on the president himself, and who tried to a second time as well. So my point is, one, I was asking if you could condemn political violence against Charlie Kirk, which you said you did not want to do. And my point is, the left is a ideology that leads a lot of people or some people to violence, and it is a problem in this country. It's taken lives.
So from your perspective, you feel like only the left side leads people to violence? Like the
who has the right killed?
I feel like we're going to have differing opinions about this. And a lot of the time, I go back to the right and the left didn't kill anyone. They are ideologies. They don't kill people. People kill people.
I agree.
And there are people who hold conservative views that have killed people, and there are people who hold liberal views that have killed people. That doesn't make it the left or the right. That makes it humans making decisions that I don't think we should be making.
Sure. And I guess that's a part of the issue. Is it's not the entire issue. Like I said, you talk about ideologies. I mean, ultimately, my problem is with the leftist ideology, is with the liberal ideology, who's fine with putting men in women's bathrooms, who's fine with killing babies in their most vulnerable state. These are just problems that frankly do not exist in my America. I'm sorry.
I think that still speaks to we need to be having different conversations, that we need to be having conversations that are not about the left or the right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that we're going to get a whole lot of places, but I really, really appreciate you talking to me about it.
I do too.
And having a conversation beyond yelling back and forth.
I do too.
All right. Dude, I mean, we're good.
All right.
I'm going to hand this off.
All right. You guys did great. Really awesome. I really appreciate it.
I'm going to pocket this